All right, let's go. What are you guys doing? You're late. It's almost 12:04. What's wrong with you people? I'm waiting for you guys to start the live stream. I guess I had to do it myself. So I was reading the chat. There's so many comments. I don't think I can. I don't think I can keep up already. Colin, Jeff, IDK, David. Who else was here? Coot, how you doing, bud? Dietrich, Real, Molly. It is a great day. So, to summarize what you guys were talking about, I did, despite my reservations, watch the Dangle video because I wanted to see. Okay, it was. I get the skit that he was doing about the fan with the beer and all of that. I think he was trying to kind of make fun of all the people that might have been giving that lady a big hard time. I don't see that stuff because I'm not on Reddit. And before we get ahead of ourselves, the thing with Biz and Bettman. Oh my God, I loved it. Bettman shut his ass down. Shut him down. That was a beautiful thing. If you haven't seen it, Bettman was on the show there with Biz and everybody, and Biz brought up the tax-free thing and, the tax-free state thing, and Bettman just made a fool out of Biz. So Bettman gets full props for me on that one. Coot says, Kane and Nurse especially seem easy to provoke. Yep. Amanda, how you doing? Says, I live in Coral Springs and people in Publix were stoked this morning, right? Yeah, I remember those days, Amanda. But I'm talking about growing up in the 80s in Miami after Marino would whoop somebody's ass on a Sunday afternoon. You go to Publix after the game, right? Game's 1 o'clock. Watch the game, go to Publix afterwards. Sometimes it was Winn-Dixie, but you get the point. Real says, we could be up 3-0 if we didn't let up at the end of game 1. You can't turtle against the Oilers. Had to keep trying to score. Seems like we're learning. I believe so. There's no state income tax in Texas, eh? Interesting. Guitar Crow says, I'm watching a lot of Oilers content. Their takeaways, the Oilers stepped up in the third and showed Florida they can out physical and won't be pushed around. Yeah. Yes. I'm glad somebody else saw that. I watched a couple of things. Colby sent me something. And, yeah, they're actually like, yeah, we showed you, Florida. We showed you we won't be pushed around. Meanwhile, our guys are laughing at them. We're laughing at them like, bruh. That was, yeah. Kazuma, I would assume no suspensions. Nothing there seemed to be suspension worthy. Jameson, Greer, and Gadjevich, man. Amanda says the Panthers learn from their mistakes, and if you try to hurt our players, then it just gets worse and worse for the other team. We'll just keep putting pucks in the back of the net, right? Molly, I know they never talked about the tax thing until last season, right? Tennessee too. And the only other thing is, I left a comment on somebody's video yesterday, but it was a video that I think it was Larry's House of Hockey. The only players that you could even argue a little bit that gave the Panthers any kind of a discount would be Reinhart and Forsling. Reinhart could have gotten a little bit more money on the open market. I don't know how much more, but he probably could have gotten 10, 9.5, 10, I would think. And Forsling, I think Forsling took a big discount. But how much of that is because of the tax thing? And they want to win cups, Dietrich. Yeah, you want Bobby to get to Conn Smythe. Colin says to Marchand, don't leave out Bennett. Have they ever split the Conn Smythe between two people? We still got to finish the series off. For sure. Hungry says, what a beautiful day. Yeah. Or as Eddie Murphy would say in Trading Places, what a happy day. Craig, got to keep it on the gas. Exactly. Hi, babe. There's Donna, Miss Jaws. Yeah, hit that like button, everybody. Appreciate all the support. Let's see here what we got. Yeah, I saw that. The somebody threw the ketchup covered rat. Oh, because McDavid hates ketchup? Oh my God. That's hysterical. I thought they were just trying to mimic the bloody rat up against the wall. All right, I see we got a super chat here. Thank you, Amanda. Thank you. She says, Greer is so much better than Boquist. It's not even close. He fits on that line so perfectly. Boquist is a nice player. I wish we wouldn't have given him $1.5 million, but if we end up trading Rodriguez and you have to use Boquist a lot next year, then it kind of makes sense. John says, plus playoff bonus money. Interesting. So RBJ says, what, my favorite goal from last night? The Verhaeghe shot. I mean, that was just evil. Like, you feel bad for Skinner on that. That was evil. That puck should not go in the net from that spot where it should. That's not fair. Vanish says, hey there, Jaws. Appreciate the like on my message last night. Florida has to protect their guys. Oilers are coming for blood next game. These guys are pissed and they're behind. Yep. And that is 100% the truth. We're going to have to be prepared for Edmonton to play game 4 like it's a game 7. IDK says, I'm not even remotely content. Completely agree. Hey, Matthew. Exactly. He says, remember last year we lost 3 straight. Now, you would like to think that the Panthers have learned a lesson from that, right? Edmonton has learned a lesson that if they up their level of play, they can come back. They've learned that against us and other teams. So you know it's coming. What Florida needs to do is take that punch and still win a game. And that might be the game. I've been saying it, that Bob's going to need to steal us a game. That might be game 4. Bob did not face a heavy shot count last night. Was not a lot of high stress last night. We got 2 days off. Game 4 may be the game where we need Bobrovsky to be like, nope. Dietrich, no. Jesse says, yeah, right. Yet to see the best of the Oilers, so when are we supposed to see this? Well, I want to be fair. And, you know, when the Panthers have those off nights where we're making the stupid passes and we're not forechecking, you can tell we're all discombobulated. I will say that, yeah, the other team is playing well, but Panthers are playing like ass. So I want to be fair about that. Edmonton definitely had a bad game yesterday. I mean, and from Skinner on down, I mean, he was doing somersaults and jumping jacks in the crease there when Marchand got that first goal. So we had their number from the get-go last night. But let's not pretend like Edmonton's not capable of playing better. Yeah, we got to take some credit for taking them out of their game. But by definition, that's admitting they were out of their game. You know what I mean? Thank you, John. Thank you, bud. He says, we're keeping Hamburger Hut. All right, bud. Sounds good. Thank you, buddy. Appreciate it. Yeah, the Reinhardt pass to Ekblad was something else. Skyler, I agree. You got to treat next game like it's a game 7, no doubt, because there's so much momentum there. Yeah, Kazuma says, McDavid said, we have yet to see the best of the Oilers. I would argue we have yet to see the best of the Panthers. There's still another triple, quadruple overtime game in this series coming. You know, last night was great. You get to win game, but it just amplifies the importance of game 4. because you know Edmonton's going to come out and give a elimination game effort in game 4. You know that's coming. And Panthers are going to have 2 days off to rest and recuperate at home. It couldn't from this moment right here, having the series lead, it cannot be set up better for the Panthers to take that 3-1 series lead. You have to take that game, because if you let Edmonton sneak out a win, then nothing matters. You're 2-2, and it's a 3-game series. Real says your favorite was the Bennett one. That was crazy, right? There were 13 rows behind Bob. Man. So Luis says Pickard should start the next game. He's 6-0. Says Panthers better be ready for him. Now, I don't know if any of you watched the Knobloch press conference after the game. One of the reporters asked him if he had a decision to make in net, and he was like, I'm not blaming, Skinner's been fine. He's been good. A lot of those goals weren't his fault. That's basically the effect of what he said. So it didn't sound to me, it didn't look to me from his body language like that he's even considering taking Skinner out. Jeff says Bob is quietly having a very nice series. Yep. Timely saves, right, Jeff? Timely saves. David says I was fairly confident before last night. Now I'm not content, but would be stunned if we lose now. Edmonton hasn't. This is starting to remind me of the Toronto series, and let me explain that out. Panthers were down 2-0, and Toronto had a 3-1 lead in game 3, and then the entire series just flipped upside down, and other than the one game, it wasn't close after that. And, Edmonton had that 3-1 lead, 3-2 lead the other night after the first period. And they haven't scored a 5-on-5 goal since. Since Edmonton had that 3-2 lead in the first period of game 2, they have not scored a 5-on-5 goal, because the fourth goal they got was 6-on-5, and the goal they got yesterday was on the power play. And I think that starts to show that Florida's doing well. I don't want to say taking over, but doing well. I'm scrolling down to the bottom. Okay, so I didn't miss anything. Just want to make sure. John says, how in the hell can Picard be 6-0 with a save percentage under 900? Yeah, I get it. Edmonton can score goals, right? Edmonton can definitely score goals. Fly Guy says, if the boys keep up the pressure and keep hitting McDavid and getting under the Oilers' skin, we should have a pretty good chance. Exactly. I says, I thought all the games would go to overtime. It was looking that way, but you kind of figured there was going to be one of these at least. Count Doobie says it's still a long series. No doubt. No doubt, man. Get it to 3-1. Get it to 3-1, and then at least as fans, we could take a short breath. Communist says Skinner was not the reason Edmonton lost. Switch goalies, and I think the same thing happens. I'll agree. AJC, he says, next they'll say the too many men shouldn't have called, or that was Dirty Panthers' fault for diving on the too many men. 7. And they're still complaining about the too many men that they say should have been called when Ekblad was getting off the ice in overtime when he was hurt. But generally speaking, that's never going to get called the way that play went down. Amanda says, when we win game 4, Picard will start game 5. Maybe. I mean, if it gets to that, right? Coot says that game looked like game 2 when we went against Vegas and just couldn't keep up and started gooning it up. Let's try to keep them in that mental state. The hockey guy also compared it to the 2011 Game 3. Yeah, which Marchand was in that, right? Chili, yeah, they're never going to call that, right? I don't know how 7 happens, David. You can understand how 6 happens, but and they were out there too. It wasn't like one guy was getting ready to go off on the change and it was close. It was 7 players on the ice and they were playing. It was like, damn. They didn't call it at 6, right? Unless 2 guys came on at once. Officer Bob, how you doing, bud? I know. He says, how on earth can Edmonton fans blame the refs after that Game 3? There was a play that they were talking about. Was it a slash? I think they wanted Lundell for embellishment. There was one call that they were talking about. I can't remember what it was. I says I wish Jaws would bring back the funny skits. I make a good Bill Zito. Yeah, well, I have to find a way to make them shorter so it doesn't take me so long, because they just don't do well. Like if I make a 5-minute skit, it takes me 3 hours to do it. So I have to find a way to shorten them and make them a little bit. Well, the Zito skits don't take as long. The Zito skits don't take that long, and maybe that's a good idea, Eyes. Those don't take as long because it's just me and the one shirt. It's when I do the skits with all the teams, that takes forever. Hungry says, Gadjo going full cycle was not something I thought I needed, but damn, I know, right? That's going to be memed for forever. Good says someone on the Reddit page posted a picture of Buffalo having 10 on the ice at once. I guess both lines went out, right? I guess both lines went out. John says, prior to Marchand joining the third line, I was frustrated with Luostarinen's point production. Now I don't like what I'm impressed. I don't know what I'm impressed with more, Luostarinen's point production or his toughness. He's really showing up in these playoffs, right? We're going to have to pay him in a couple of years too. You know what I mean? We're going to have to pay him in a few years. Real says, people are still trying to act like the Oilers had to do that because they think we're the only ones who played dirty in Game 1 and Game 2. I know. I mean, we kept our cool for the most part. I mean, people are talking about that cross-check that I forget who it was, that Frederick broke his stick on Bennett's back, but that was the second cross-check. He had already gotten him once, and Bennett was just skating away, so he got him again. Yeah, that's right, Hungry. They wanted Barkov for a trip and Bob for embellishment. Hey, Simon, how you doing? Oh, what's my prediction? Just win Game 4. I don't want to get too far ahead of myself. If we win Game 4, I feel really good about my Panthers in 6 prediction. Although I don't even know if I want to dick around and lose in Edmonton. You know what I mean? Just keep playing the way we are right now. No letting up. Mandy says, Frederick tried to sucker punch Bennett. That's why Greer and Gadjevich were on the ice, right? And Perry. Yeah. Wish he'd stop scoring, though. They were complaining about Lundell and Forsling diving, which drew the calls. I mean, he cross-checked Forsling right in the back in front of his own net. Like if Forsling was getting into close to the crease against Skinner and Kane does that, maybe they don't get a call. But you're in the offensive zone You can't cross-check Forsling in the back there and expect not to get called. Yeah, they wanted embellishment on Lundell for flopping after getting cross-checked in the back 3 times and socked in the face. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Any Panther fans, Laserbeam says, any Panther fans in Edmonton, please take some rubber rats and release them after the cup-winning game on Thursday. Well, you mean Saturday. It was sad to see no rats on the ice after our victory in Game 2. There were those couple of Panther fans that were there celebrating. They got good footage of the overtime winner. But, yeah, you got to bring some rats if you're going to the games, guys. Make us get with Zito negotiating with the guy. I wish I could do a Trump. I can't do a Trump, but it's not a bad idea. But I wish I could do a Trump impression. Zito calling up Trump to keep things. Well, I guess it wouldn't be Trump. It would be what's his name? DeSantis. Is he still governor, or did he get reelected? Did he still run after the whole presidential thing? That shows you how much I pay attention. Like, I don't even know. I love my life. Officer Bob says that nurse cross-check was completely unnecessary. He knew he'd be penalized if he continues. Why did he do that, right? Like, I mean, you get what Edmonton is doing, but for their fans to be complaining about the refereeing last night, I mean, come on, man. Is there any intellectual honesty at all? Unless it's just, kids on Reddit, Yeah, scientists, at this point, 6-1 game seems to be our signature, right? John. So he's saying TNT continues to coddle Edmonton all series. When the McDavid line started the game and they got that shot on goal, as the puck was coming back into the Panthers zone, whoever it was talking about how it was a really good start for Edmonton. They had a really good start, and they're showing blah, 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 whatever the hell he was saying, and then Marchand scored and shut him up. John says, how does Edmonton try to stop Florida where everyone is contributing? The only way Edmonton wins this series is outscoring us, especially with Hyman out and Nugent Hopkins hurt. The only way Edmonton wins this series is either one of two things. Skinner or Picard go absolute God mode or outscoring us, because they just can't handle the depth that we have. We have 3 lines that can go up against any of their lines, and they only have 2 lines that can go up against our 3 lines. And that's a serious inequity. And we've seen that time and time again with the Lundell line, that third line being an advantage, which is why it's so important to pay Sam Bennett. Okay? You could give Sam Bennett $10 million. 8 is for him, and 2 is for keeping Lundell at 3C. Now, I know we're not going to pay him 10. I know that's an overpay. I'm just using that number as an analogy. Why, you think Kane should be suspended? I don't want anybody suspended. Let them play. It's more fun that way. Sunshine says, job's not done. Don't be surprised we end up having a stinker of a game. 2 more wins. Just get the 2 more wins, right? Ted says, Jonah Gadjevich is my spirit animal. That dude had an insane, hilarious look on his face after the fight with Nurse. I know. Bloody nose, full-on beard. It's beautiful. Coots says, our third line is low-key, sneaky bastard line. I see Lundell sneaking in digs every once in a while, and Luciani can have some edge too. Marchand rubbing off on the young ones. Yep, I would hate us too. Now we got to – if this team can sign Bennett – I've told you already what we got to do. Chucky goes to LTIR. Go get your nuts fixed. Take a year off. Come back for the playoffs. And it gives us money for Bennett, Ekblad, and Marchand. And I'm sure the NHL fan base will be okay with that. Nobody would claim that we were manipulating the salary cap if we did that. I'm sure they would all understand. E2 is the Cats leader in playoff hits so far. Craig, that's a good point. And what I was talking about earlier on the podcast is that their time on ice during the season just isn't all that high. So they come into the playoffs kind of fresh, because they do not get the same time on ice as the top six line. But then come playoff time, they're a top six line. It's beautiful. I agree with you, Bob. Real says, yeah, I love how the Oilers started that line brawl when it was Bennett and the fourth liners out there, right? John, I don't know why TNT is that way with Edmonton, but I mean, now the games are on Sportsnet also. Is that correct? Or are they on Sportsnet and TNT? Sportsnet being in Canada. Scrolling down to the bottom. Cade. Matthew says he's only playing well because he took a vacation half the season. Which one? Chucky? Oh, Ekblad. I see. You don't want to sign Ekblad? Well, of the three, if we could only have two of the three, I would want Bennett and Marchand. And then you put Jones in Ekblad's spot and go get Mikkola another partner. If we could only have two out of three. Yeah, Casey's just fine everybody $5,000, right? I hear what you're saying, Matthew. Yeah. Connie says, yeah, they'll send us roses to make us feel better for losing Chucky. Yeah. Yeah. Nobody would be upset about that. So Sportsnet is the same. Yeah, but I was asking about Sportsnet because I was thinking maybe TNT was playing to the Canadian market. But if the games are on Sportsnet, then that doesn't give them that excuse. Doesn't give TNT that excuse. Kazuma says, I hate that we have to wait till Thursday. Hopefully it doesn't kill the momentum. I think we'll be okay. Having those extra couple of days off this time of the year, and then with the quick road turnaround, it can work in our advantage, because if Edmonton doesn't solve what happened out there today in the next 2 days, they're not going to solve it on the plane back to Edmonton for Game 5 either. Jari says, letting Ekblad go will leave a hole in your heart. I'd like to keep him, right? I mean, just the depth of having Forsling, Ekblad, Jones, Mikkola. I mean, just having that much depth. If you lose Ekblad, we complain about him, but it's going to leave a hole in the depth unless there's some right-handed stud defenseman out there that we don't know about that's going to, go with Mikkola. And I don't think Ekblad will leave. David, coffee and nicotine with the voice is gone. Love it. Silva says, Edmonton fans say they saw another look between Draisaitl and McDavid. The one they did after Game 1 in Dallas got out of hand. Interesting. Huh. Hey, Deadly Flames. He says, last night brought me to joy to my face as a Flames fan. Right? I bet, man. Kenneth, yeah, Sportsnet cheers for the Canadian teams, but TNT, you would think that they would be not as skewed. You know what I mean? Kate says Sportsnet was talking about a possible comeback, down 5 very late. Yikes, man. Not necessary. Ekblad's on the power play because he does have some offensive skill. It's not because of his quick puck movement. I can tell you that. What we got here? Yeah, exactly. Don't be silly. Momentum doesn't exist, right, Silva? RBJ, I would love to keep Schmidt if we can afford him. Yeah. Fly guy Megna. Megna's not a young guy, though. I mean, Megna's capable, but he's not like a young defenseman to groom. He would be a solid piece. I mean, a Mikkola Megna pair would be something ridiculous. Thank you, Amanda. Thank you, Amanda. She says, let's talk Bennett. How many years and at what price? It's reported he won't leave. 7 by 7.5 is what you think. Probably 8. Probably 8. So we got $19.5 million. If you give Bennett 8, you got 11.5. If you can get Ekblad to take 4.5, you got 7. If you can get Marchand to take 4, you got 3. And if you trade Rodriguez, you can flesh out the rest of the roster and you've kept everybody. Now, those numbers might be wishful thinking, especially on the Marchand end. But he might be willing to do it. We might be able to get away with giving guys a little bit less if we give a little bit more term than we would have wanted. But I think I think 7 by 7.5, maybe 8, Amanda. I think that's what Bennett is probably looking at. Officer Boz says Mikkola is definitely one of our best D-men. Maybe I'm biased, but he's taken huge steps the last couple of years. No, you're dead on, man. You're dead on. That's another guy we're going to have to pay at some point. But especially if we win the second in a row, these guys are going to want to stay to try to win more. You know what I mean? Silva says maybe we should keep Schmidt on a team-friendly deal if possible. I wouldn't mind seeing him leave like OEL did, but definitely deserves the chance OEL got. But I'd love to keep him on the third. I think his age might – he seems like a guy that might just stay there in South Florida, make $1 million, right? Was his buyout just for the one this year, or did he have more years of getting paid from his buyout? Simon says, in Jaws, in Canada, we don't have TNT. It must be a U.S. thing because, yeah, you guys just have Sportsnet. Yep. Thank you, bud. I know, John, every time somebody goes after Meeks, he just laughs in their face. Barkov line, 50 points. Bennett line, 51 points. Lundell line, 49 points. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Just 3 lines. It's basically 3 top lines. Because you can put the Lundell line out there against any other team's top line, and it's a fair fight at worst. Hey, Puck Rock, a prediction for Game 4. I don't want to give a prediction yet. I'm curious to see how Nugent Hopkins come out of this game, if he's worse or better. If he's out, Edmonton's in trouble. So I kind of want to see what Edmonton has to say over the last couple of next couple of days. I mean, I'm going to pick Florida to win the game. I don't think this Florida team, with all the experience that they've had in games, having letdown games, I don't think they're going to do it this time. I think they recognize that if they have a letdown game, it could be over. Edmonton could get rolling, and it could be over. I was listening to Knobloch's comments after the game. I'm not saying I don't like the guy, but obviously he's a good coach. He's got his team to the Cup Finals a couple years in a row. But there just seemed to be something, I don't know, something missing. Like, I don't know. I couldn't quite put my finger on it. The way he was describing the things that happened, just either he's just keeping everything inside and completely showing something else to his players, or he might have been in a little bit of denial about what happened on the ice. Maybe that's the word I'm looking for. Communist says Samo would switch contracts for Erod. I don't think Samo will get that much money. I think Samuel will get like 2 by 2.25, something like that. And then I think Sam Miskevich will be looking to get because he's still an RFA. So I would think Samuel's going to get a 2-year bridge deal. That would be my guess. If he had played throughout these playoffs and contributed, that might, he might have gotten a little bit more. But I think you're looking at 2 by 2.25 for him, something like that. Skyler says, gives Marshy blizzards for his contract along with the pay cut, right? Tony, yeah, the depth we have is just, we got Boquist and Samoskevich on the bench. They had 27 goals combined. They can't even get on the ice. Craig, exactly. The possibility of a three-peat will draw some guys wanting a ring. Will I be covering the Checkers final probably not. I hadn't thought about it, talking with Kyle. I'll have to talk to Kyle about it. He's getting pretty crispy here towards the end of the season. You know what I mean? It's a lot. He does a lot calling the games, and for him, it's a lot. But I'll talk to him. I don't know how we would watch it. Do you have to stream the games somewhere? I would assume they're on somewhere. Oh, do you think Connor McDavid's hurt? He left the ice for a half a second. It was a decent hit, but he didn't seem to be laboring or anything. Collins says Samuel finished 11th in Calder. All right. Craig says, yeah, unless someone offers sheets, Mackey, I don't think we would allow him to be taken away. You know what I mean? I don't think we'd allow him to leave. David says, Knobloch didn't even take responsibility for the 7 men on the ice and said, bringing up game 2. Yeah. That's the comment, David. Thank you. That's the comment that I'm remembering. It's like you just had 7 men on the ice, and he's talking about, I wish they would have called it the other night in overtime. It's like, dude, that call's never getting made. That with Ekblad getting off the ice like that. Oh, JK says Samuel can't be offer sheeted because he's only played 1 season in the NHL. Good information. Appreciate that, bud. Good stuff. That is not something any of us here had talked about or knew. So that's good stuff. Thank you. That puts that to rest. All right. David Smith says Connor's skate needing sharpening. He has the old style where you can't change out the blades. Oh, okay. Fly Guy says, I keep saying the culture of Zito is building is creating a very team-friendly atmosphere, team contract-friendly atmosphere. We might not retain everyone, but players want in. So Kenneth says, let's say the Panthers win the cup and you get your guys. Do you think the Panthers repeat coasting to a mid-playoff spot, or do they go for first and just play playoff hockey like all season? Well, some of the answer to that question, Kenneth, depends on what Toronto does. If Toronto lets Tavares go, Marner go, if Toronto tries to, depending on what Toronto does, they may not be the automatic first place team next year, kind of like they were this year. I know Tampa and Florida dabbled with it, but Toronto was winning the division. Tampa is a team that could compete for the division. Maybe Ottawa. Now I'm thinking about it, Kenneth. You might see Ottawa do that, just play their asses off all year to try to get first place. But I think Florida would kind of do the same thing they did, just kind of coast a little bit because it worked, right? If we win, that worked. So I would suspect that they would do that again. And I know I joke about Tkachuk, but I'm under the assumption he's going to need surgery after the season. So I'm thinking we're going to have guys that missed the start of the season again. Simon, who do I think Dallas is going to get? I don't know. There was a couple of names the chat bannered around the other day. Gallant. Somebody had mentioned Gallant. He might get himself a chance. He's kind of a player's coach. Could work. Fly says Novak also mentioned something about targeting our players. Yeah, it was weird. Kucherov, how you doing, bud? It doesn't matter if the Lightning or Panthers, Florida team in the playoffs build for tough success. As a Bolts fan, I feel like the Panthers learned from us. They're the next dynasty, in your opinion. Appreciate that, but I hope we got to finish this series off, right? Got to finish this one off. Hey, Bex, how you doing? Officer Bob, it's interesting to see some of the cope, no doubt. Communists, no, I know. And look, Viola, they lost money for a few years there. You know what I mean? When they stopped the free tickets and everything like that, those empty seats, they hurt. Because we were still pretty much spending to the cap. Cooch, you think the Lightning are in a decline slowly? A little bit. They got to get Vasilevsky a decent backup so he doesn't have to play so many games. They're cooking him by the time the playoffs start. Dave says, even the weather is happy here today. We're muggy. It's not really bad. It's 76, but it's like 2,000% humidity. Fly Guy says, I think it's pretty clear that Paul Maurice coaches his team to take it easy through the regular season and to not block shots. He's learned that. You know what I mean? He's learned that. He would wear his teams out before, but now he's figured that out. Amanda says, Marchand said before joining the Panthers that he thought this team could go on a 10-year run and just happened to join them. Coincidence? Right? Yeah. Now, of course, that was probably thinking Spencer Knight would just take over for Bob. But I find it interesting that Spencer Knight's contract and Bobrovsky's contract expire at the same time. I'm just saying, right? I'm just saying, wouldn't that be something? Wouldn't that be something if Spencer decided, I don't want to sign in Chicago and decided he wanted to go back to Florida? I'm just saying. But Bob's not going to retire anyway. Simon, you're asking about the AHL team. You're saying this series starts on Friday. I'll have to check it out. I usually don't cover, so we'll see. Man, says this is year 3, so 6 or 7 more years sounds about right. As long as we keep getting reinforcements. Yeah, good point, Craig. Says Montreal may play harder and near the top, so they may get a better spot in the playoffs too. Yeah. Hey, Pente, perfect game, right? That was. Let's just do that again on Thursday. Let's do it again on Thursday. Coot says the league is lazy when it comes to coaches, always recycling the same ones. Wouldn't be surprised to see Laviolette in Dallas. I mean, he's not a bad coach, but I don't know. Dallas seems to need somebody with a little bit of pep in their step. Like Gallant might be the guy to get them moving forward. Glenn says Knobloch's not naming a Game 4 starter. Interesting. Because it sounded yesterday like he had made up his mind to not move Skinner. Colin says Chicken Chuck and Barkov are due for a big game soon. Barca or Chucky especially has been getting better and better each series. Remember the first few games against Tampa, he was such a defensive liability. And at least now when he's out there, you're not like, oh, God, what's going to happen? Flames fan, I'm sorry, man. I feel you. It has the comments on my videos and stuff have been pretty cool. I don't think I've had any, like, as an example, you guys know I probably, during the Leafs series, I probably had to block 10 Leaf fans, and I even had to block another 3 or 4 Leaf fans during the Canes series. But I haven't had, I don't even know if we've had to remove any comments from Edmonton Oilers fans. I mean, that's a big difference. Oh, Silva. Kenneth says the only team that may be able to compete with Florida is Montreal. That will be the team in the East to watch for. Yes. Yeah. They're going to need somebody other than Sam Montembeault. I love the kid, but I don't know that he's going to, it'd be tough. Tony, this is pretty funny how I hated Boston before, but now I love Marchand. Right? It's a beautiful thing. Die Hard Red Wings, how you doing, bud? I know, man. It's talking about the Red Wings missed another playoffs. It's tough. I thought you guys were going to do it this year. Really did. But the Atlantic is just a bastard. I mean, the Atlantic is just an absolute beast. You know what I mean? It's there's 3 teams in the Atlantic, in Montreal, Detroit, and Ottawa, that are obviously up and coming. Detroit trying to get there. I guess goaltending needs to be discussed there too. Yeah. Fly Guy says, Paul Maurice said Bob is the future of the franchise when he was asked about goaltending when they moved Spencer Knight. Right. You'll love to see it. Jordan Berger's asking, what's the deal with Cooper Black? Haven't watched anything AHL, but you said he might get a call up. Is he league ready? I had hoped that maybe he'd get called up next year to compete for the backup spot, or the third goalie spot, we should call it. I don't think he's quite ready. He hasn't played enough, in my opinion. And I guess on this playoff run that the Checkers have gone on, he's not been the one in net. I guess it's Kapanen. So, Kakkonen. It's Kakkonen or, yeah, Kakkonen, right? Kakapupi? Anyway, so Cooper hasn't been playing, as far as what I've been told here. He's a couple years off, right? And part of that is because we're trying to win cups. Like if we were just the mid team that had no playoff intentions, you might see him get a shot some games here or there as the backup. But since we're, you got guys taking less money to stay to try and win a cup, you can't bring up some kid that's not ready and put him on the ice under that kind of circumstance. It's not fair to the veterans. Hey, Trey. Well, my itchy this. But the mustache, the hairs are growing up into my nose. I can't trim until we win this cup. Pente says, I thought Barkov had a great game yesterday. People think because he's not scoring that there's something wrong. But if McDavid and Draisaitl are off the score sheet for the most part, Barkov had a great game. Trey. I don't even want to know the reference. Yeah, real Leaf fans were still trolling the Panthers sub during the Canes. Yeah, they were coming to the noon stream. It was crazy. Mr. Vince, how you doing? Not necessarily was hoping Detroit was going to make it. And look, I mean, there was a few teams that you thought, like Columbus, right? Officer Bob says Barkov is fine now, but if he raises into his best level, Edmonton is screwed. Perwagan says if Charlotte wasn't in the Calder, I think we'd have anyone called up, and if so, who? I don't think anybody would be playing, but I would assume that because what did we have, like the Black Aces or something? I would assume that Sordif would be up. Magna. Those are the Kierstead. Trying to think if there'd be anybody else that you might have up. Because I don't know how many players we had last year on the Aces, but I don't think none of them obviously they're in the playoffs and none of them are up. But I don't think anybody would have been playing. Oh, Puljujarvi probably definitely would have been up. I don't think he would have gotten into any of the games. Maurice pretty much has a pretty solid love affair with Boquist, and that's okay. Kakinen, thank you, Communist. Yeah. I just call him Kakapoopy, but it's not an insult. It's from, what's that movie? What's the movie where she ties up the writer? What's her name? The woman that ties up Anthony Hopkins. She's the writer. What the hell is that movie? That's what she would always say is Kakapoopy or something like that. Real says, yeah, just bring back Lion King. We might need to or it's going to be a minimum wage backup goalie. Officer says, Florida's so damn deep, it doesn't matter if someone's playing at 70%. Paraga, no, that's how we got Kakinen. After the night thing, we traded Drieger to wherever and got Kakinen. Pretty much their numbers were kind of the same. Yeah, the Skinner chants, Coot. They were fun. Now, did I hear it correctly when Pickard came in? Did they start at Pickard? Did they start that? Jason says we're basically the Finland national team development, right? Hey, Russell Bleeding Blues. Says I feel like the Blues have a bright future, and plus I like the Blues. I hope the Blues can put together a good team in the playoffs next year. There should be some turnover, right? At some point, one of these Western Conference biggins is going to miss. It was close, man. St. Louis kind of had it, and then didn't. And that's when you're getting close, right? It takes some. Panthers won the President's Trophy, barely beat Washington, got smothered and swept by Tampa. We scored 3 goals in 4 games. I believe that was the number. Hey, Trey. I see. Gotcha. Hey, Colby. IR Red Wings. Yeah, Yzerman. Yeah. No doubt. Oh, I didn't see that Paragon. Kane was a salty little bee in the post game. Look, that's got to be tough. Lose a game like that, have all the fights, and then have the mics in front of you right afterwards. Not everybody's meant to be a YouTuber and yell at the camera. They have to mind their P's and Q's, right? Oh, Jason Asplund has been killing it too. Yeah, I forgot about him. Yeah. Thank you, man. Yeah, hit that like button, everybody. It does help the stream. It does help it get shown. Jack Devine, right? Yeah, Mr. Vids, misery. Yeah, that's what she would always say is Kakapoopy. Because she didn't want to curse. Kenneth says, I've been trolling Jaws as a Leaf fan for over 2 years now. They don't block me. They just force me to stay and cheer along with the Panthers. Hockey is great. Oh, Kenneth's a good guy. Good. There's a lot of good. There's a lot of, like any fan base. I don't hold it against the good Leaf fans what the bad ones do. It must be in the water down there. I don't know what it is. It's special. They tried Pickard, but they couldn't get everyone involved in the chant. Gotcha. 305 wants to know, however this one turns out, what's the odds we see Panthers Oilers again next year? I mean, I would say at least 50-50 right now, right? You got to see what happens with Florida and free agency. They keep Bennett, right? If we keep Bennett, can we sign Marchand? There's a lot that Florida has to work through. Edmonton, I would expect. Does Edmonton have any money to, like, at some point go get, like, a top-notch goalie? Do they have any money for that? Oh, Jason says Checkers also have a baby Montour and Mike Benning. Gotcha. Is he a younger guy? Hey, Adonis. You were only 2 wins away. Yes, sir. Glenn says, can Zito unload Boquist this summer even though he paid him? I mean, I guess you could, but I don't think that's going to happen. I think it's possible, depending on how things go. I mean, you could keep everybody if you're just going to let Marchand go. If you're just going to sign Bennett to 8 and Ekblad to 5, there's enough to the team to fill out the roster. Barely, but you could do it. I kind of thought they might think about move on from Rodriguez. Not that I want them to, but it might be a space where, Boquist is a poor man's Rodriguez because he's making like $2 million less. I believe Rodriguez is like 3.5. Kachunka says we got to capitalize on the mental state of Game 4. But just like the Leaf blowouts, they were 1 bounce away from going the other way with momentum. Exactly. Kazuma, he's supposed to show up tomorrow. The internet guy is supposed to show up tomorrow, 10:30 or something like that. Sometime like 10:30 to 12. Oh, they should. Yeah, Calvin. Yeah, I like that fly guy. Mr. Vids. With the water from Flint, Michigan, maybe. Yeah, I know Edmonton has to re-sign McDavid soon, right? Chris says, the last thing I am is comfortable. I understand that. I understand that completely. 305 says Skinner is in the line where he's good enough to stay. Probably. I mean, they've made it this far with him twice in a row. Savannah. I can't imagine, but they are. I don't go and read that stuff, but them complaining about the refs after last night, it's just like you lose credibility. Okay, Benning is 23. Wasn't there another Benning that was a veteran that we had? That's what I'm thinking of. Like a few years ago, a Benning that we had that we released or something. Colin says, I think I could be wrong, but Skinner is due for a new contract soon. So it's raising each season, Tony. He's asking when the salary cap is raising. Each year it's going up. It's going up pretty significantly over the next couple of years. So Panthers are going to be in good shape. Can we get greedy and keep Marchand? That's the question. Hey, Fatality, how you doing, bud? That wouldn't be a bad idea because if you already got Spencer Knight, now if you get Marner with Bedard needs some help. Get that kid some help, man. They're going to ruin him just throwing him out there expecting him to, he's got to let him develop. And even, guys like Barkov needed to develop. He needs some decent players around him. So Marner, I'm sure Chicago would have to really overpay, but it could be good for Bedard's development. Seth Jones is a +5. Ain't that something? Kachuk says, I think move Roddy, sign Bennett, Ekblad, and let Marchand blow out someone else's cap space, preferably not in the conference. We don't need to trade Rodriguez to sign Bennett and Ekblad. We don't need to do that. We have enough cap. You give Bennett 8 and you give Ekblad 5. That leaves us 6.5. That gives us enough money to flesh out the rest of the roster. Pretty sure. If you're going to let Marchand walk, you don't need to trade Rodriguez. .305 almost choked. What seems to be the problem? Internet. Are you having an internet problem? Right? Craig says the culture they're building is raising families, so maybe keep Erod since he's also so versatile. I mean, I'm just getting greedy, right? I'd love to keep Marchand. Can you imagine Lundell Luce throwing a Marchand as a third line for a full year? That's absurd. Oh, he's the son of former Panther Brian Benning. Maybe that's what I was thinking. Hardrada thinks Edmonton is going to sign McDavid at $15 million to stay competitive. They would. I mean, I've seen articles that said $20 million. That's absurd. But I mean, how many times can he get there and not win? It's not over yet, obviously. But if they lose again, I just wonder how much how much that'll play into his decision. Everything's good, Simon. Donna's doing good. She was here earlier. She was here on her lunch break. It's doing good. They'll be here Friday night, so they'll be here for Game 5 on Saturday. Hardra says Anaheim's probably going to blow $14 million on Marner. God, dang. Fatality says I haven't been this miserable since Kane and Taves or you guys had your years though, right? At least you had your cups. I know it's been a while. I get it, but at least you have that. Kachuk, that's my idea. He says Chucky needs a lot of time off next year so we can get some cap relief there, retain a few players to get us to Bob's new cap hit when he extends. I agree. Adonis, Chucky probably needs surgery. That's the assumption that I'm making. He's gutting something out, obviously. He's at least skating better these days, for sure. Coot. Their hatred for Edmonton, as they call it, is hilarious. Yeah, I think we do have a kind of a there's love there between Florida and Calgary at this point. You know what I mean? We took Kachuk, but we gave you guys back Lombard, right? Sorry, Huberdeau wasn't Connor McDavid. Uyghurs turned out well for them. We're fresh out of goalies. We don't have any goalies to give you. Sorry. But Calgary's got a goalie now. That's right. Hey, Emperor King. Yeah, we found our game. Panthers found their game. Exactly. Oh, TJ Oshie retired. That's right. Glenn P. Yeah, the goal by Bennett and the Four Nations. That's right. Yeah, good point. Fly Guy says, I don't think Chucky's ever going to be the same. I don't think we need him to be the same. I don't think we need him to be what he was when he got here, going and hitting everybody and being overly that physical. I don't think we need that. Just get his legs and his core right and sit his ass in front of the net deflecting shots. Amanda says, do I think Bennett is better than Kachuk? It's a good question. It's a good question. It's hard to judge it right now because obviously Chucky's hurt. I think Bennett is better. Well, he's faster. Kachuk's got probably better hands. Different players in some ways. Maybe they might make each other better. You know what I mean, Amanda? Like it might be the combination of those two making each other better. Like, would Bennett have the same success on a line, with like lesser player? It's a tough question. Kachuk says Bennett is more skilled than Kachuk in certain scenarios, but doesn't have the same hockey IQ. Yeah, Kachuk has done well playing within himself. Bennett hasn't done it here, but he still does that thing sometimes where he thinks he's going to be Connor McDavid and walk the defense through the middle of the zone there, offensive zone. That would be like the only complaint I would ever have. Hodger says Bennett and Kachuk are the perfect combination as they excel in the same locations of the game, but in entirely different ways. Yeah. Adonis says Chucky doesn't have the skating or the speed, but he better handles net front presence and even scoring on ability. Bennett has been better this postseason, still would take Chucky's intelligence. And Bennett's got a better shot. I would say Bennett from the circle, you feel pretty good. Kachuk from the circle, get in front of the net, Chucky. Yeah, and Chucky's ability to redirect pucks in the front of the net is otherworldly. Good question, Amanda. It's a good one. Oh, Simon, I don't know who's going to be on the drum. They had the Heat player. I can't pronounce his name. Just no Dolphin players, hopefully. Hopefully no Dolphin players. Tony says Kachuk can produce a lot of points, but it's obvious he's not 100%, and I bet he's not the only. Yeah. No, Reinhardt's probably not 100% either. Hey, thank you, Amanda. Thank you. She says, I think Bennett is just always full force with speed while Chucky slows the game down. I agree. I'll agree there, yeah. It like somebody said up above, it's a kind of a perfect combination. Right? Yeah, Adonis, yeah. It's definitely – I'm not sure Bennett would have the same success playing somewhere else. Thank you again, Amanda. Bam. Yeah, Colin. Yeah. I just can't pronounce his last name, right? Trey says, do you guys know the Oilers have never lost a game straight up? It's always the refs. Well, it's because Colin Campbell. Have you heard about this guy, Colin Campbell, Trey? Let me know if you haven't heard about him, because it's really conspiracy. Bam Obeyo. Yeah, get Trey on the drum. Yeah. Flame says, always alliance with the Panthers, always until the Oilers never win a cup. Well, we're trying. Add the bio. Okay. At the bio, is that like New Orleans? At the bio? Through my eyes says Kachuk is more creative, especially right around the net. He sees the future sometimes. Bennett is a no-nonsense rhino. Can either run you over or break your ankles. Perfect. All right, everybody. Voice is going. What did Real say? I heard Colin Campbell bribe the Oilers with Ekblad stash to take 500 penalties. Right? Oh, yeah, I did use the Bennett puppet last night. Yeah. You know, that only took me one take. I was surprised. I got that out in one take. It was kind of a tongue twister. Hey, Fisherman, how you doing, bud? Yeah, good start, right? Yeah, you had to get – Lamoriello had worn out his welcome. It was time, man. It was absolutely time. So, all right, everybody. Thank you all for hanging up. Hanging out. Thank Colin. Why not the bark-off puppet thing? He might start banging it by himself, right? All right, everybody. Thank you all for the super chats. Much, much love. I'll be here noon tomorrow. Members podcast will be up in a little bit here, and then I'll have a little something out tomorrow morning. Yeah, Eyes might have given me a good idea. So I'll have a little, maybe we'll do a little bit of, even though I don't have the Bill Zito beard right now, we'll make it work. I'll shave my head, we'll make it work. All right, everybody, enjoy the rest of your day. Enjoy your night off. We shall see you mañana.